Peace be with you. My name is Allan Keislar. Although I'm in the United States, I'm always thinking about Pakistan, because Pakistan is not an ordinary place, but as far as I know at least, Pakistan is that place where, God willing, pure Islam will be reestablished. So we must understand what is pure Islam: love, truth, justice, service of God and service of all of creation. That is eternal Islam, pure Islam, true Islam. That is real Islam. So today I want to talk a little bit about Allama Muhammad Iqbal, rahmatullahi, and he was in favor of spiritual democracy, as he called it. So I just want to say one or two words about that. But more importantly, I want to talk about the dynamic concept of existence that he forwarded, or that he put forward, and the dynamic nature of Islam. So first of all, this topic has come up recently, and Khilafat-e-Rashidin, which means to have a government, a form of government, which is like the constitutional government that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, set up in Medina, and was followed by the first four pious caliphs after him. So I think the only one point I want to stress now, which I have mentioned before, is that Islam is not against democracy. Sometimes people think something like that. No, spiritual democracy, which is, according to Allama Iqbal, the real teaching of Islam, does not forbid elections, does not forbid that aspect of democracy where the government is selected based on the votes of the people. However, the modern Western democracy is satanic democracy. It's not spiritual democracy. And it's based on a system, the foundation of this whole system is any way to set up things so that people who are very wealthy and deceitful can control it. That's the reason they've set up this type of democracy. But Islamic democracy, or spiritual democracy, is based on the principle of God, that there is God, and that God is all-powerful, and God is watching everything. God is kind and loving and forgiving. And with this understanding of God, we can have a spiritual democracy. But as far as I can understand, I may be wrong, but this is my understanding, there cannot be political parties in a spiritual democracy, because there's only one God. So why should there be parties? Why should there be divisions of people fighting and working against each other? That is a satanic principle, divide and rule particularly. Satan likes very much to create different parties so that they can fight against each other and waste their time and waste their money doing that. So, but democracy, I remember, I was a child then in Pakistan in 1956, was it, when President Ayub, General Ayub Khan, came into power, and he introduced a system which he called basic democracies. And he felt that, and he was in consultation with many scholarly and spiritual leaders also to come up with this whole idea, which he felt and his advisors felt was a type of Islamic democracy, spiritual democracy, which was based on the principle of one party. As far as I can recall, and I haven't really studied it very much, but the basic principle was that people would vote for basic Democrats, as he called them, in every locality, and those basic Democrats would become the foundation of the electoral system, not political parties. So that was the point I wanted to make about spiritual democracy, because Western propagandists are trying to say that Islam is antithetical to democracy. Islam is a theocratic system, and There cannot be any democracy, and of course everyone loves democracy nowadays, but not that wrong kind of democracy. We don't want that. Satanic democracy, democracy based on fighting, infighting, or political parties fighting against each other, but democracy based on spiritual principles, especially based on faith in God, trust in God, and prayer. That the basis of the voters' decision should not be listening to the political parties' platforms and thinking which one they like the best, because they're all lies anyway, but should simply be prayerful reflection on the qualities and characteristics of the people who they are going to vote for. And they should vote for people only on the basis of their prayerful reflection on the spiritual characteristics and the competence of the leaders that they're voting for. So political parties should be outlawed. They should not be allowed. Campaigning, creating platforms, no. It is based on the character and qualifications of the people to be voted for. Okay, that's spiritual democracy, the basic principle of spiritual democracy as I understand it. Well, the other topic that I wanted to discuss, but I think I'm going to leave it for another chat just because this is going to go on too long. So I think I've said enough. We will talk about spiritual democracy as a fundamental Islamic principle today. We can have questions hopefully about that especially. And then later chats we'll talk about other things that I was hoping to talk about, but I think I'd better not. Okay, so let us see about any good comments or questions here. I hope somebody will respond to this topic. Let's see. Sudhir Ahmed says, Assalamu alaikum, respected Babaji. I'm overwhelmingly excited to be part of this spiritual live stream. It's always amazing feeling every time I come across your live stream. I feel enthusiastic and positive. Thanks for your contribution to spread the message of love and peace across the globe. Okay. Thank you very much. Sudhir Ahmed Saib, you also always have very good questions and comments. So if you want to comment on this spiritual democracy idea, I hope I can get to it and we can discuss that. Fatima Sarfaraz says, Assalamu alaikum, sir. When did you start chanting and doing zikr? Any advice for anyone who feels resistance in doing zikr initially? Thanks a lot. Well, I was doing zikr of some sort, Christian, repeating Christian prayers even as a child. And I'm trying to remember exactly when it was. Somehow, certainly as a youth, I had this awareness. I realized that the names of God are very, very powerful. So I can't remember the exact date, but it was in my childhood or youth. So anyone who feels resistance to doing zikr initially, well, probably it's because of fake uses of zikr, because of persons who use zikr for their own selfish gains, and so it becomes distasteful, or people who simply mechanically recite the names of God, so that becomes distasteful. So people may feel a resistance to doing zikr for those reasons. So advice, just do the zikr anyway and feel it in the depths of your heart, praying. Very, very powerful. Feeling must be there, depth of feeling, sincere feeling, begging God to please let me serve you. Please give me guidance. Please open my eyes. That very, very passionate desire to know God and to serve God and to understand the truths of reality and to cultivate love and service. That sort of zikr is very wonderful, and nobody should feel resistance to doing that. So I can understand many people have criticized zikr because they're criticizing that very artificial, superficial, parrot-like repetition of names of God. So Don't even think about zikr. Just think about begging God to please help me, guide me, and just say Allah, Allah, Allah. So don't think about the negative aspects of zikr that may you may feel some resistance to, and just think about the positive side. Very good question, thank you. Sudhir Ahmed, today we have misunderstood the concept of democracy. Democracy and dictatorship both are under the influence of cynical people who manipulate the naive people for their own benefits. In fact, we made our own gods to worship. Yeah, yes. Thank you very much, Sudhir Ahmed Saib. You always make good comments and questions. I agree with you completely. Yes, democracy and dictatorship and everything practically in the world are under the influence of cynical people who manipulate the naive people for their own benefits. Yes, I call them the satanic people, cynical people. Uh, yes, and we have, yes, so the so-called democracy in the modern world is a god. We have created this god of democracy as if it is the solution to all problems and everyone should, but it's actually the cause of all problems the way it's being practiced now. But it's based on a good principle. It's based on the principle that people, human beings, have some intelligence and human beings can pray and get some guidance from God. Human beings are a very special creation of God. We can receive guidance of God in our heart. So based on that principle, spiritual democracy is a very good system. But yes, you are right. This misunderstood concept of democracy, which is under the influence of cynical people, especially by using the political party system they control. And of course, they control the media, so nobody can, it's very difficult to find out the truth of anything. Thank you very much, Sudhir Ahmed Saib. Rimshah Khan says, sir, is it okay to build temple in Muslim countries for Hindu minority? Of course, in Pakistan there are many Hindu temples, and that in the constitution of Pakistan, minorities have their right to practice their own religion, and so building temples is part of the religion, certainly. In the Hindu tradition, there always are temples, so it's certainly okay. It's part of the practice of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also, to protect the religious minorities. Of course, at the time of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, there were no Hindus that we know of, at least in Arabia, or if they were so far deviated from their religion that it had become idolatry, and of course the practices of the majority of the people in Arabia were very deviant from any true religious ideas. There was very corrupt and sinful, really, practice, religious practice, so-called religious practices. So that had to be rejected. But we should remember when the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, cleansed the Kaaba, the Holy Kaaba, of all of the fake idols that people had manufactured out of their own imagination. He did not take out the pictures of Jesus and Mary, peace be upon them both. They were accepted by him as genuine. So, not that he accepted all Christian beliefs, but he accepted that they should not be removed. Those pictures should not be removed from the Kaaba. I've been told this by a number of different people, and I think it's true. I may be wrong, but that's what I've been told, and it seems to make sense to me, because he was always in favor of protecting religious minorities, and Christians and Jews were certainly protected within the Islamic culture for a long time. In fact, there are, I can't remember it offhand now, but there are documents written by Christians in the early centuries, or early decades really, of the Islamic era, after the Muslims had conquered Christian territories, in which the Christians were appreciating so much how the Muslim leadership protected their churches and promoted even them. So that is real Islam, to protect, just as the Constitution of Pakistan protects minorities, allows minorities to practice their religions freely. So certainly that is being done in Pakistan now, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, Muram Masood. Hello, sir. How are you, sir? I have seen your inbox messages, but I think they went to spam, and you did not see my messages. Okay, I'll look for your messages, and even if it's in spam, I'll try to find them. Sudhir Ahmed Sahib says, "Where is spiritual democracy? We haven't seen the essence of spiritual democracy. Pir and Jogi are making people fool under the guise of spiritualism." Yes, you're right. Of course, we've seen the essence of spiritual democracy in the Holy Prophet's Medina, peace be upon him, in the holy city of Medina Munawwara. That was a spiritual democracy, actually, that was being practiced originally. Of course, it deviated before too long, and kingship was established, kings based on not spiritual qualities. Kings, there's nothing wrong with kings as long as they are spiritually guided and are spiritual personalities. But the Islamic system of spiritual democracy was unfortunately taken over pretty quickly in Islamic history by kings who were, although they called themselves caliphs in the beginning, but they were more like kings, and it became a hereditary system. So that is not spiritual democracy. But real spiritual democracy we have seen in the example of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his early followers, Khilafat Rashidin, where there was a God-centered democracy which was serving the people, and not a direct democracy in the sense of every single person voted in a national election for the leader, no, but indirect democracy, just like General Ayub, President Ayub's basic democrat system. That was the system, indirect, but election based on prayer, based on spiritual considerations. At least that's the principle. But I think you are very, very right that Pirs and yogis are making people fools because people are innocent. Most people are quite innocent, and it's hard for them to distinguish between a person who looks like and acts like a pir but is internally just has selfish motives, and they give him money because he looks like a pir. So that has made a fool of people under the good disguise of spiritualism. Yes, so that's not what we're talking about at all, of course. I'm sure you understand. Maram Masood, spiritual democracy, that the head needs to be Sufi? No, I don't think so. Of course, it depends on what you mean by Sufi. If by Sufi you simply mean a pure, because some people say Sufi and Saf are related, I don't know, but if by Sufi you mean a pure-hearted person, of course, the head needs to be a pure-hearted person, but does not need to ascribe to Sufi doctrines and practices. Any good Muslim, and of course I have a very broad definition of Muslim, not just what most people think of, but any real servant of God, any real person who is surrendered to guidance of God, that sort of person needs to be the head of the state. Sajid Ramzan, say Pakistan Zindabad, Pak Army Zindabad, Allah bless you. Pakistan Zindabad, Pak Army Zindabad. Without the army, Pakistan will not be able to succeed in its mission. Tariq Javed, tell me the name of your Murshid. Her name is, well, she has many names. The first name I knew her by was Kali. That is a spiritual name. Her legal name is Carol Keislar. She is my good wife now. She has many names. Also, Fatima is a name that has been given to her, and Lake of Compassion, and many names. Carolina, she has also adopted that name. Fauzia Naureen, Sir, Assalamu Alaikum. Why it's said that social media is fake media? In one way, it's true, because cannot differentiate truth from lie. Well, the social media is full of both sincere people who are understanding the truth to some extent and sharing it, and disinformation, that is information that is intentionally false. The The people who are spreading it know it's a lie, but they're spreading it anyway for their selfish purposes. So social media is very good in the sense that true people can make their opinions known and their understandings spread, whereas in the mass media it's almost impossible for a sincere person to get their message out. So social media is much better than the mass media in that sense. Um, so I'm not quite sure what you mean. We cannot differentiate truth from lie on the social media, maybe, but we must learn to discriminate. That's otherwise mass media, social media, educational, what you learn in school, what religious leaders teach. In every case, you must learn to differentiate truth from lie, and that is by your own purity of heart. When your heart is purified, then you will be able to differentiate truth from lie on social media as well as everywhere else. So that's what's important. Pakistan. Pak means pure. So our hearts must be purified. We must pray for purity, and God will give us purity and give us ability to differentiate truth from lie within our own heart. That ultimately is how we must, each one of us, decide. Ayesha Raja, Assalamu alaikum. Tell us about the spiritual journey of Allama Iqbal. Well, I don't want to talk about his life or spiritual journey. I just wanted to talk about his understanding of spiritual democracy. So I don't have time to do that now, maybe some other time. But he wrote Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam. Actually, it was a series of 6 lectures he gave, and then it was published under that title. So that's more important, what I really want to, because I think Allama Iqbal was an inspired soul, peace be upon him. And so he was mostly, maybe not 100%, but he was mostly extremely correct. Very, very perceptive soul. A great lover of the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and a great lover of Islam, and a great lover of Pakistan, actually. He knew that there needed to be a country like Pakistan where pure Islam could be reestablished. So let us discuss his idea of spiritual democracy rather than his spiritual journey at this time. Usman Heli, how old are you, dear sir? I am, well, there are 2 ways of counting, Western way and Eastern way. In the East, usually a person becomes, when they are born, they're considered 1 year. The first year of life is called 1. In the West, we say the first year of life is 0, and after 1 year, then one becomes 1 year old. So by the Western way of counting, I'm 72, almost 73, and by the Eastern way of counting, I'm 73, almost 74. Sudhir Ahmed, no doubt Ijtihad is the need of our, and it goes without saying, but here too people are divided into different opinions and pick and choose those theories which are beneficial for them. Thank you very much. You always make very good comments, Sudhir Ahmed Saib. Yes, Ijtihad is the need of the hour. There can be no doubt about that at all. And Allama Iqbal also stated the same thing 100 years ago almost. He knew it was necessary. Of course it's necessary. And it goes without saying that it's necessary. You're right. But here too there are people divided. Yes, of course, that's natural for people to have different opinions. We have to stop this practice of picking those things that are beneficial for us personally. We must surrender to God. We must pray for guidance and purity. And as we develop purity just means sincerity. It means we really want the truth, not that we want something that's beneficial for us and so we promote that as the truth. Whatever the truth may be, we want that guidance from God. And that's ijtihad. So those people who are picking and choosing different options and theories according to what's beneficial to them, they're not practicing ijtihad. Ijtihad requires sincerity, purity, sincere truth, seeking for the truth. Maram Masood says, sir, it is important that the zikr must be like fixed number of times, like the repetition needs to be fixed. Is it important that someone told me that I need to do some zikr, 5,000 of darood? Is it a good idea to fix the number or not? What's your view? It's helpful often, but it's not necessary. You can do zikr anytime, as much as you can. It's good. There's no specific number that you must do, but it's good to have a certain fixed number, and then that helps us to become more determined to do it. Otherwise, we become lazy. But if we have a fixed number, whether it's 5,000 or 500 or however many, it's good to have a fixed number that one will recite. And then one has a tasbih also, specifically, not only tasbih, in every religion. Christianity has rosary, and other religions have malas and, beads, which are on a string often, so to help keep count. Or there are other ways you can count on your fingers, or there are different ways to keep count. But it's good to have a fixed number. It's very, very helpful. But if you don't do it and just do zikr, that's good too. Okay, Sudhir Ahmed says, wish I could have more time to contribute, but I gotta go now. Convey my regards to all who are participating in this live stream, and I wish them healthy life and happiness. Stay blessed. Thank you very much. Kamal Zubair says, the word Pakistan means the land of pure. In order to get purity, we must keep in mind that we are answerable to God for all our deeds on the Day of Judgment. Yes. We must always keep in mind that we are answerable to God for all our deeds. Yes, that is a very fundamental, preliminary even principle. You might say, I agree with you completely, that it's very, very helpful, at least, if not 100% necessary, because some people may be beyond the need for thinking of that in order to become pure. But generally, yes, keeping in mind that our deeds are going to be measured, and we are going to be given the reward or the punishment according to what we've done. That's very helpful, in the beginning at least, to become pure, yes. And afterwards, whether, as the great poetess of Basra said, I don't want to do good deeds, I don't want to be pure as a result of fear of punishment. And I don't want to do good deeds out of desire to attain the pleasures of heaven. I just want to develop love, to do what is right, whatever the result may be. It doesn't matter, just because of love of God. And so that's a higher stage, but in the beginning, for generality of people, certainly it's very good to always keep in mind that if we do something wrong, we're going to be punished, and that's certainly true. We should remember that. Okay. Mirza Saima says, Iqbal wanted to use parliament or legislature to do innovation, ijtihad, but those type of conditions require time and focus, whereas in countries like Pakistan, this type of experiment has never been allowed. Especially army, at the behest of foreign power, caused this process to choke. I think Ayub even, some say, went on to murder Fatima Jinnah after defeating her in the elections. It's a bit complicated in Pakistan. Yes, I agree with you that it's never really been practiced in Pakistan, because first you have to have a real parliament, a parliament of pure-hearted people, and Pakistan has always been extremely corrupt. Even General Ayub had some corruption, I think. I think he basically wanted to do what was good for Pakistan, but he was obliged to do what the Americans wanted him to do. Otherwise, he knew that he had to some extent, adjust his desires according to what they desired. So that's true of all the leaders of Pakistan, more or less. All the leaders of all the countries of the world. So I think Prime Minister Imran Khan is much better than most at being able to work for the good of Pakistan and the people of Pakistan, instead of acting on the behest of foreign powers. And I think the army of Pakistan also is becoming much more independent of the control of foreign powers. And if it were not true, then Pakistan would not have come to the point where Imran Khan could be elected. It was with the help of the army, who prevented all of the corruption and cheating that has gone on in so many elections in Pakistan, and allowed the true results of the election, the true desire of the people to have a prime minister like Imran Khan. Definitely, the army is doing much better now than ever before, as far as I can know, in becoming free of this foreign power. Mm. So the army and the government must certainly become free of those satanic foreign agencies and become a true spiritual democracy, and then there can be a parliament or a legislature of spiritually minded people who will be qualified to do ijtihad. Thank you very much. Good point. Omar Ma'mian, how do you know that you have achieved audience with God? That's a good question. I guess, well, even that answer, I was going to say, when you do, you will know it. But you can deceive yourself and think you have when you haven't. So I think you only have to be honest and sincere. And if you're not honest and sincere, then you won't be able to know when you've achieved audience with God. But if you're honest and sincere, then definitely you'll know it when it's there. Amjad Nawaz, I have great respect for you. Where do you live right now? I am in New York and like to speak to you over the phone if possible. I am in California, Northern California, near Sacramento, and you can send me a private message. I will look for your name and respond to it. Salam, sir. Remembering my prayers. Ikra Raja Baram Farma Ya Malik. Okay. Khawla Umar says, Assalamu alaikum. How are you, Sir Allan Keislar? I just joined, so don't know what is under discussion. Spiritual democracy and the ideas of Allama Iqbal is what we're discussing. And I'm fine, thank you. Tariq Javed, why you don't tell me the name of your Pir or Murshid? I have told many times, I have had many Pir or Murshids, but my main one is my good wife and spiritual teacher. Her legal name is Carol Ann Keislar. But the main name, or the first name that I knew her by, was Kalili. And she also has been given other names, which I've mentioned already today and many times. Fatima was a name given to her many, many years ago. And many names she has, but I've told you her name, so I don't know why you say, why you don't. How can spiritual democracy be established in Pakistan? Oh, thank you very much. That's exactly what we're talking about. And I believe that education is the most important thing. Spiritual education is the first most important thing. And people must understand what spiritual democracy is. And I believe that the best way to establish spiritual democracy is to have elections based not on political parties, but simply based on people voting after prayer and begging God for guidance in their hearts to pray for a spiritual democrat, you can say. That's, I believe, how spiritual democracy will be established. Pure Islam means spiritual democracy, and I believe we will have pure Islam reestablished in Pakistan as it was in Medina Munawwara so many years ago by the Holy Prophet himself. So similarly, spiritual democracy will be established in Pakistan, inshallah. And how can it happen? By people understanding to get rid of political parties and to vote on the basis of spiritual qualifications, and that includes the competency to be a good leader. Seeing those qualities of the person should be the only reason we vote for them, not because they promise us, oh, if you vote for me, I'll do this for you. No, that is not spiritual democracy. That's what mostly happens in the world today, democracy. The politician says, oh, vote for me and I'll do this for you. No, that's not spiritual democracy. Spiritual democracy is simply the voter votes for the person who he or she sees is spiritually qualified and materially qualified, competent. Fauzia Noreen, what essential things we should start about Islam to our children to make them feel to make them real Muslims in this era of fitness? Oh, very, very good question. I love that question because it's very closely related. In fact, that's the beginning of spiritual Islam being established in Pakistan, is to teach the children, because children have been taught many wrong things about Islam because the adults themselves have wrong ideas. So we must teach, first of all, to children that Islam means love. Islam means truth and justice. And if they are loving and truthful, then they'll be real Muslims. That is what we need to teach to our children. And then gradually they will understand all the principles of Islam and of spiritual democracy. And then when they grow up, they will be able to vote the way we're talking about, to how to establish pure Islam and spiritual democracy. So definitely we have to begin with the children, because the adults are mostly too misled by fake ideas, false ideas of what Islam is. So we ourselves must understand what is true Islam, what is real Islam, what is pure Islam, not this narrow-minded idea that has spread to most people in the world, even those who think of themselves as Muslims. So we need to correct our own ideas, and then we need to teach the true understanding of Islam to our children. Muhammad Fazil Hashmi says, tell me the Sufi name, Rawalpindi. I don't remember his name. I've said this many, many times. And there was a great Sufi sheikh who owned a bookstore in Rawalpindi, near the Rawalpindi cantonment station. And I don't remember his name. That was 1980s, early 1980s when I knew him, and I have not met him for 35 years, or more than 35 years, and I don't remember his name. So please forgive me. If you want to trace him out, you can try to find a bookstore near the Rawalpindi Cant station. He may or may not be alive, I don't know, because he was older than me. Kamal Zubair, what is your understanding of Ijtihad? My understanding of Ijtihad is that God is real, Allah is a real force, a real personality, the supreme God, the source of everything, and He is present in our hearts. So therefore, He can speak to us, He can give us guidance. And Ijtihad means to be able to hear the guidance of God in our heart. That's the essence, and be able to act upon that guidance that God is giving us in our heart. Amjad Nawaz, further to my message sent a few minutes ago, this first time I am watching you live. How often you come live, sir? Every day at this time, 7:30 p.m. in Pakistan, 7:30 a.m. here in California in daylight savings time. Tariq Juwaid, tell me the name of the person who met you with the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Tell me the name of the person who met you with the Prophet. I think you're talking about that Sufi in the bookstore in Rawalpindi. I'm just trying to see. I don't know if that's who you mean. And if that's who you mean, then I don't remember his name. If there's somebody else, you can explain to me who else it is, and I'll try to remember his name. Okay. How much durood you recite? I don't have any fixed number. But at least whenever I say namaz, I recite the durood Sharif Ibrahimi. And then in my prayers that I do, I will recite it several times more. So, but I don't have a fixed minimum number. Mani Amar Mani, Islam, my fellow American brother, please make dua for me. I'm sick. I want to come to California, but right now you know what is going on. That's why I'm not flying to California. Please make dua for me. Jazakallah, thanks. Ya Allah, Mani Armani par Raham Farma. I hope you can come to California sometime. I will look forward to meeting you. Okay, Mani, you live in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for some time too. Fatima Sarfraz, Assalamu alaikum, sir. Which Sikh mantra you recommend to learn and recite, and its advantages in drawing closer to God? Thanks. Thank you very, very much for your wonderful request. It is called the Mool Mantar. एक ओमकार सतनाम करता पुरख निर्भाव निर्वायर अकाल मूर्त जुनी सैभं गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक होसी भी सच. So you can do a search, you'll find that online. Just search for Mool Mantar, Sikh, or Nanak, you'll find it. Alina Mazhar, sir, request for dua for me and my family, please. Oh God, please bless Alina Mazhar and her family. Fatima Sarfraz, oh Pakistan, jitte Hazuri Pak, अपने पाक मुसाहिब दे नाल पाक इस्लाम कायम कर देंगे. पाक इस्लाम दा मतलब कि शरिया या मोहब्बत. इंसानी पाक दा मतलब कि जिसमें खाक या रूए पाक. Know this by heart. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we will end. We've gone on long enough. I don't want these to really be much more than half an hour. That's sort of what I'd like to have our chat. So please be happy. Don't worry. God is in control. Allah Malika. And nothing can happen without His permission. So whatever is happening, He is allowing that and He is adjusting that for our benefit. So we should be convinced of that. And then we will be happy at every moment. Okay, thank you. Allah.